Ahleen wa sahleen. Right now we're going to talk about the passive participle in Arabic, or what we call ism al-maf'ul. In a jumla ismiya, in a verbal sentence, if we have an object for our verb, we refer to that object as al-maf'ul bihi. And maf'ul is also the structure that we can use to create a passive participle out of a verb, right? The thing that an action is being done to. We saw in the last video, for example, that we have the verb to write. He writes. Yaktub. Right, and that we can take the root kaf ta ba and turn it into the ism fa'il of katib, right, meaning a writer, someone or something that writes, who writes. So we could also take the same root and turn it and pop it into this wazn pattern, right, this vowel consonant pattern, to come up with a word that means written, someone or something that is written, that has been written. So to do that, we would again take kaf, ta, ba, and then we would take this exoskeleton. We have that meme and that waw. We're going to retain those and put the letters of our root in the place of fa, ayn, lam, and what we're going to wind up with is maktub. Right, so suppose that your Arabic instructor is a little unclear on his or her syllabus about whether the assignment is something that they want handed in on a sheet of paper or whether it's just an exercise that you should review in the book, right? You might say, oh, excuse me, afwan, hada wajib maktub, right? Is this written homework, or is this just something to review? So that's an example. Maktub, in certain contexts and in certain dialects, is also the word that we would use to refer to a letter, right, that we send or mail to someone. And sometimes it's also used in the context of fate, right? Maktub alayna. It is written that something should happen, should occur, should befall us, for example. Let's take another example. If we want to refer to something being known, for example, let's take katib, right, a writer, and we want to talk about how a writer isn't obscure, right? We know this writer. What writer is a household name. We could take the verb for to know, ya'rif, and again we could isolate the jadr, ayn, ra, fa, that triconsonantal root, and pop it into the maf'ul wazn, that vowel consonant pattern, right? Swapping out fa, ayn, lam. So we would retain the skeleton. Let's use a different color to emphasize this. So the ma, that's part of our wazn, and then we've got our ayn, ra, waw, fa. We always retain that root and we always retain the letters in order, but we've come up with a slightly different meaning, right? Now we have known. So if I want to talk about a well-known author, for example, I could refer to someone as katib ma'ruf, a well-known writer, a well-known author. Again, ism maf'ul is found all over the place in both colloquial dialects and in formal Arabic, and a lot of nouns and adjectives are derived from this pattern. For example, let's take one more verb that you probably know. Yashrab, to drink, right? So if we take that jadr, shin, ra, ba, and pop it into the maf'ul pattern, we have mashroob, which is the word for a drink, a beverage, right? Water, milk, Coca-Cola, anything like that. So be on the lookout For this pattern, perk your ears up when you hear it. Try to hear that musical, rhythmic quality that all maf'ul words share. And remember that it has that passive object sense to it, right? A mashroob, something that is drunk. Ma'roof, something that is known. Maktub, something that is written, right? And keep in mind that as with ism al-fa'il, like we saw in the last video, there are derived forms. Forms 2 through 10 are going to have slightly different patterns that are based off of their derived forms and the extra letters and vowels and diacritics that are there. But the ism fa'il and ism maf'ul patterns are fairly linear. You can take a conjugated verb, and the ism fa'il and ism maf'ul patterns are not terribly different from those conjugated verb forms.